NFL. Let them know.
Welcome to Saturdays in Canada with Blackhawk West here on the Sports Betting Channel, sponsored by ChampionshipFootballs.com. The coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed. But technically, Blackhawk West, I think the coolest present you could give someone to open that day, guaranteed, would be a link to Saturdays in Canada with the advice to spend 34 minutes a week and do what these guys say, love, and whoever it is you put your salutation there.
You can get a lot of championship footballs if you play our picks.
It has been such a fun run, and I do have some good stuff here. I've got, of course, the CFL results from last week. I have the hourly rate. This hourly rate thing, I'm having a lot of fun with it because I've had a lot of gigs in my life, and I just haven't had too many that actually turned out as well as this one is turning out, which is basically whether or not you watch. The key, really, right, is whether or not you watch the commercials. So if you don't want to watch the commercials, it's been incredible. So we have, what do we got? 3-1, 3-1, 3-1, 2-2, 2-1, 3-1. 3-1, 4-0, 3-1, 2-2. Listen to those numbers. Yes, 2 of those weeks we lost the $55 better. You know, 50. I say 55, but as you know, it's a $50 better.
Yeah.
We saved that. We cost them $10 out a couple weeks. It cost them. 1 week you got $200 out of it. But as you know, here's the beauty of it. We're proud of the 28-11, right? There's no doubt about it. But that doesn't tell the story, does it?
No, it definitely doesn't tell the story because every week we've had a dog outright, and the best one of all was 2 weeks ago when we called for Toronto to lose and we took Calgary, and but I got to ask you a question. What about the games where we're hitting the second half? What about the games where the live action we go like 6 out of 7? What about the games where a team is down 22-0 and we bet them on the money line? That's one of the benefits. I mean, Winnipeg this past week, that was an example of it. Winnipeg was down. I think they were down 17-0 at one point, if memory serves. They were down double digits. And come on, they're not going to lose that much. I think it was 22. I think it was 22. So you now have an opportunity to take points on a team that was originally laying 12. And then you get some money line. I think I caught plus 375 money line. And the biggest benefit we have to the CFL is there's only 9 teams. And so if you're watching 4 games a week, you really walk away feeling like you know it. Like I know you know players' names now. You can even pronounce Saskatchewan. And it's just because of the much smaller portfolio that we're looking at. And it really is. But I'll tell you, because we started – I say we, but I started early in the year with the first one, XFL, USFL. I kind of blur those together because they really were bad. But you know what it did? It kept the Easy Sports data fresh. I can't tell you how many summers we just blew off baseball. Baseball is such a grind. And then come Labor Day weekend, holy cow, I got to refresh my memory on how to work the NFL data. But I won't have to do that this year. But it's just been great. And I got to tell you, and I know, the people that are CFL fans, they know this, but the pace of the game is really intense. 3 minutes to go in the game or in the half, there's a lot going on. A minute and a half to go, the other team could get the ball back on a 2-and-out scenario. I watched some NFL preseason, and the speed of the game is almost like they're moving in slow motion compared to how fast we've seen this CFL game. I'm not saying CFL players are better. I'm not going there. Oh, but 2 totally different games. You're absolutely right. The pace of the game is it's intense. It's very fun. I'll give you 2 examples. I remember telling Chaz, he said something like this. But Dad, there's only 3 minutes left. I said, son, they could have 4 possessions and 3 scores in 3 minutes. And then this past weekend, I said to you, look at those pussies in the NFL needed 4 downs to get a first down. And that's exactly it. You have got to get 6 to 8 yards on first down in the Canadian Football League if you're going to convert, or as they would say, if you're going to convert. I'm going to assume this. I'm going to assume that you're watching the replays of this show and the commercials aren't that annoying, even though it's my voice on a lot of them, so I could understand the annoyance.
I would say that we're going to count that. We're going to say you're watching, like I counted every week. Last week was 34 minutes. 34 minutes. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to say you watch 34 minutes because it's still $131 an hour you got. So basically, every week that you watch a show, you make like $75 or what? Yeah, 34, half of an hour, give or take 1/3. So $65. So you got $65 an hour. I'm not making $65 an hour telling them that. So I tell you what, I can't complain because, as you know, how many tickets will we cash this year? Oh my gosh,
28. At least that's the documented portion of it. 28.
Well, then that's the beauty of it. In between, it's the in between, without a doubt, I think is so much more fun. Don't get me wrong. You have to. You don't really want a team that you got given 12 on tickets going down 22-0. Nobody wants that. But guess what?
If they do,
because the way we wager, we all of a sudden now have gotten all the money back that we lost, that we invested at 12. Because plus 375, it don't take a lot of money to make up for a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's look at. I'm really proud of those numbers. Great job. We're not halfway through, but we're pretty close. We're almost right there, right? We're about halfway through. 18 games, right? 21 weeks.
Week 11. This is officially the start of the second half of the season.
Yeah. All right, so then let's look at what happened last week. So we started Thursday, Winnipeg, Edmonton. That's the game we talked about. It seems like it was a long time ago, but part of that is, so what do you think? I have a question for you that is not football related, but social related in terms of Canada. Hockey's number one, right? Without a doubt. Hockey's number one. Do you think soccer's number two or CFL's number two?
I don't know. And I really struggle because I love this game. And you look at these stadiums, and Mosaic in Sask is always full. And Montreal looks like they're drawing a crowd. But that second tier, like even in Toronto, that is a great football team. There's an argument that they're the best in the league. And they're not filling the stadium in Toronto.
Defending champions usually have a boost in their ticket sales, right?
And it's a massive city. Toronto and Vancouver, these are massive cities. It's Sask, Regina, Saskatchewan is much smaller, but so maybe it's the entire city has to go to the game. But so I don't know where Canada would put CFL. I took a trip to Toronto a couple of years ago, and they were very into college football. On a Saturday, we were walking around. It was on every screen in sports bars. So CFL might be 3, 4.
Yeah, and the reason I bring it up is because, right now we are in the Women's World Cup, and those games are out at 1 and 3 in the morning on my time, and I'm winning tickets on games I can't bet live. And oh my God, soccer live betting makes CFL live betting seem boring because they keep going and the weirdest things happen. But it's so similar if you think about the timing aspect. Mm-hmm. In the CFL, it's really weird the way the clock just stops all the time. All the time the clock stops.
It does. They'll stop the clock until they get back to the line of scrimmage, which I really like that because it at least gives them a chance. Even if there's 2 seconds to go once they start winding the clock. The NFL, they or even college, they get the ball back and they can kill the clock before the ref even has.
You remember that one game where the guy started kneeling like in the second quarter because they had the lead and they wanted to keep the ball?
Yep.
Just really is. It's slower. There's no doubt about it. All right, so this was Thursday night. Winnipeg was down 22-0. They won 38-29. They almost covered. They won by 9, given 12.
They almost covered, and this was a rare one where they actually took a knee. And Collaros was injured, so that really caused a problem. But their defense stepped up. When their defense is clicking, and I say when because there's some players that are up there in maturity. But Collaros on the sideline, that really hurt him. Now they're going to have a week he still has not seen full practice. So looking at Winnipeg going forward, we might see a different version of them this week.
Well, we have to talk about that in the next segment because we have the dichotomy of the team that we haven't figured out yet, playing the team we have totally figured out yet. So We could either go 2-0 or 1-1 on that, or 0-2. I don't think we could split it, actually. But then this is Friday, and I've told you this before, Wes. I love this Thursday, Friday, Saturday thing. I don't mind a game on Monday once when they have the holiday, or a couple games on Saturday. But when it's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday thing for me, especially in the summer, it's my favorite week of the CFL schedule, you know?
Yeah, I do too.
So Montreal just took over the game early and often, right?
That defense, we can go back to week 1, and we had talked about futures, and I had said the value was Montreal plus 1,200. I'm not saying that they are winning the Grey Cup, but I am saying they're starting to look like a team that is in that Winnipeg, BC, Toronto conversation. And here in 2 weeks, actually next week and a half, wherever the time falls, we're going to see Montreal and Winnipeg go at it, and I'm really looking forward to that game. And I hope that Zach comes back. But that Montreal D is nasty, and they did this game without Cody for a good portion of it. So that was a really tremendous win.
Well, we talked about it. I sent you a text. We're going to talk about there are two teams I sent you a text about. Montreal was one of them. So we'll talk about that in the next segment or two. BC was nice because remember what happened. We were in a little bit of a pinch because we were kind of tweaked on the first 2 games this week. Now we got an undefeated record a break even, a 500 or better record every single week of the season, which is in jeopardy. But I really felt comfortable with both of these next 2 games, and BC didn't let us down.
And BC, they took the stress out of it for us early. They came out, they scored, and that's really their game. And seeing VA back in the lineup and the way that he's playing, right now, as far as I'm concerned, he's running away with that MOP trophy. But they put points on the board, and then their defense suffocated them, and then they put more points on the board, and it's over.
And then here we got all you could ever ask for a sports bettor is that last game of the week, big-ass double-digit dog, and they kicked the field goal to cover. Because as you know, in the NFL, they don't kick that field goal. That's the difference in the 2 games right there. The NFL will not have kicked that field goal.
They wouldn't have, although they found themselves in a scenario where they needed to get both. So if you knock one out now, maybe you get the ball back. I don't know that I disagree with the coaching decision, but in the NFL, they're going for it. It depends on the quarterback. You got Mahomes, you're going for it. But
they covered. The bottom line is they covered. Going into the second half, they weren't covering, and they just shut them down. I mean, they gave up 24 points in the first half, 7 in the second, but that last field goal got us the cover. For me, this was a prime example. This was a very, very profitable game in live action. This wasn't as good as Winnipeg because they weren't down 22-0, but they were both double-digit dogs, and they were both winning the game on the field, getting points. It was very nice. And the team total, that last field goal, not only covered for the game, but it got the team total on, I think, the 3rd team total we bet, right? I think it was the 3rd one.
Yeah, it was. And there was a 44, there was a 43, but it didn't seem right to me that we got 28 points on the board and we only got to give up another 16 for the second half. And in the CFL, it's very important to remember, you only lose 40 seconds, maybe 1 minute if a team goes 2 and out. So when the defense is playing good, when the offense on the other side is predictable, they're going to get more opportunities. And if they're already moving the ball, they don't necessarily run the ball to kill the clock. That's not how it works. They put up points so you can't get them.
It really is wild. It's wild. And when we come back, we're going to be looking at week 11. And again, all I want to do is find out what my 4th teamer is. You're watching Saturdays in Canada here on the Sports Betting Channel. Compliments of championshipfootballs.com. You're getting a 100% money-back guarantee on every single souvenir football from championshipfootballs.com. The coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed. How hard is it to find the right gift for someone that already has everything? Whether that special present is for a Georgia Bulldogs fan or a member of the Kansas City Chiefs kingdom. Maybe your grandfather has been a Dallas Cowboy fan as long as you've been alive. Does your brother-in-law live in Penn State territory? Do you know a member of the University of Baylor Alumni Association? Is there a better birthday gift for someone who's 100% all Tulane Green Wave? Send them the coolest present. They'll open that day, guaranteed. Now, if your favorite pro team is the Jacksonville Jaguars or those Minnesota Vikings, we're sorry about that. If you are a Louisiana Monroe Warhawk or an East Carolina Pirate alumni, not much they can do. After all, the name isn't "You Had a Pretty Good Season Footballs.com. The name is ChampionshipFootballs.com. The coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed. With thousands of buyers across the country, you'll always get the most amount of money for your bet on PropSwap. So hurry to PropSwap while it's early and grab a ticket or two. The odds are always the highest right now. It really does pay to get in early. Go to PropSwap.com or download the free PropSwap app today. PropSwap is where America buys and sells sports bets. Welcome back to Saturdays in Canada, here with Blackhawk West on the Sports Betting Channel. And you know what? I talked to PropSwap, Ian from PropSwap this week, because I'm going to New Orleans and I will have paper in my hand. And you know, and John knows that I would rather have all tickets in my hand rather than tickets online every day of the week if I could. It's not realistic, but guess what? Harrah's, downtown Louisiana, New Orleans, baby. So I'm looking forward to that. And that Friday, we're doing our NFL premiere with Belly Up Sports. And what we did last year is I just shut my mouth and listened to these guys. Remember, these are fantasy guys, Wes, so they're coming from the personnel level up, right? And I'm going to bang out a four-teamer. I'm going to pick four of the divisions where I think I got the winner. Try to get, $1,000 out of it for because they got to have $1,000 to go back, right, to New Orleans. I'm going to go back to catch one of these tickets, and then I'll be able to sell the other one maybe for $500. So I'm pretty excited about that. But yeah, so PropSwap said yes. They still have issues in Nevada because as I'm in California, you don't tell me about governments that have their heads up their butt. I know all about it. But the bottom line is Louisiana is not one of them. So I am very much I confirmed that yesterday because I'll do that. John has been great. John will go over to his they must make fun of John when he puts my ticket in, right? For $20.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
John, could you put two $20 bills on verifying?
Yeah, you little guy you got there, John. Are you taking take your kid to work day?
Oh, that's funny. All right, so let's look at what we got. Edmonton to Hamilton Thursday night. It is 45. It is -5. This game is the one game that I looked at the data and nothing really jumped out at me. But I will tell you that the ladies playing at 1 o'clock and 3 o'clock in the morning, and me having a lot of action on those games relative to action. You see those tickets that John shows you, and it's like all of a sudden you realize, but your unit's a solid unit too. Don't get me wrong. I'm just having fun with this stuff. But yeah, this was the one that didn't jump out at me.
So this one jumped out at me right when I saw it, and I saw 5.5. But either way, I think quarterbacks, right? We've had a lot of quarterback injuries throughout the league. I think at this point there's only one quarterback that is QB1 that hasn't seen injury, and that's Mayer from Calgary. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But when you look at the quarterback situation for Edmonton and the quarterback situation for Hamilton is the bigger mess. That's for sure. Hamilton QB1 throws, I think he just threw an interception from his couch. And it's sad to see it, but QB1 and QB2 are out. We're looking at 3, 4, and 5 on the roster. So, and Hamilton allows points. Hamilton allowed over 30 points, 27 points to Montreal, and at a time in the season when Montreal wasn't scoring a lot of points. We're watching Edmonton, and now the Edmonton organization is a mess. They're firing people in the front office. People are quitting in the front office. But what I saw last week in that Winnipeg game, there were some turnovers, and I don't want to overstate the value of the performance they put up against Winnipeg, but that didn't come from nowhere. They're on to something, and I really like what I saw at the quarterback position. They're getting Lewis back in the lineup at wide receiver, so now he's going to have someone to throw to. But that quarterback is he's one of the fastest players in the CFL, sub 4.5, 40 speed. So I like Edmonton here. I like Edmonton to win the game outright. I don't care that Hamilton is coming off of a bye week and it's in Hamilton. I like Edmonton. I'm taking the points, and I also like some money line.
All right, so here's what I noticed when I looked at the Easy Sports data. Edmonton likes to give up points, but Hamilton can't score. So there you go. All right, so then Friday, we have the Winnipeg. Now, I got some notes. I got some notes I want to go over. You mentioned the QBs. Wow, it really has been crazy. They're just falling like trees over here.
Yeah.
And then the lines. You mentioned the lines. You mentioned I got 5.5. I got 5. You know what I've noticed this year? We're 11 weeks in, so we've had 10 weeks, 40 games, give or take, 39, whatever. I don't think there's been a game that's really, maybe 2 that have been close to the number. The number really has been irrelevant.
It has been, other than the dog outrights, and we're
well. Then again, the dog outright wins. The line is irrelevant. You know, we don't need no stinking points.
Nope.
So we got Friday night, 9:00 Eastern, Winnipeg at Calgary. Again, this is Winnipeg, a team that we've struggled to pigeonhole, and Calgary, a team that we are perfect, undefeated with.
Yeah. So this is a difficult one again, because we, as you just said, we know Calgary well, and Winnipeg keeps fooling us. But my concern, no matter who they're playing against, Zach is still not at full practice as of Tuesday. And so we'll get updates throughout the week. But this is 7 points. Winnipeg on the road. They're coming back. They're coming off a game where they allowed a lot of points. Calgary is healthy as they can be. Carey's back in the lineup. Mayer has not seen any form of injury this year. I'm not saying he's a top flight quarterback, but he is QB1, and that's better than I can say for the rest of the league. And they're coming off a loss. You got a well-coached team with a great roster coming off a loss, an embarrassing loss, a 37-9 loss on the road. Now they're coming home. Typically, Calgary, I feel, is better on the road than at home, but now they're coming home and they're getting 7 points. Don't know who wins, but 7 is too many, and I think that Calgary has a chance to win. Winnipeg might be looking ahead to getting home, getting Zach back in the lineup in that Montreal showdown the following Thursday.
All right, so they played twice last year, 13-12. Calgary beat them. This is in Calgary, and 28-35, which I think the math is 7. So they have not beaten them by 7 the last 2 times they played there. Yeah. All right, so when we get back from break, we got the 2 games that I definitely had something that jumped out at me that is a relative, that relativity thing, which is, common opponents kind of thing like that. And that is on the Montreal, Ottawa, BC, Sask, 2 games we're going to talk about next. You're listening. Actually, you're watching. Whatever. It doesn't matter because we're both audio and video. It is Saturdays in Canada. It is Black Hawk West. It is the Sports Betting Channel. We'll be right back. Your Kansas City Chiefs are Super Bowl champions. Here's the coolest present any Chiefs fan will open that day guaranteed. These full-size, NFL licensed, full-color souvenir footballs celebrate all 3 of Kansas City's Super Bowl titles. The top panel of these limited edition footballs has logos and scores from the first 2 championships with all the game information from the Super Bowl 57 win. The second side has the score from every regular season and playoff game. These footballs make an incredible gift for your favorite Kansas City Chiefs fan, even if it's you. ChampionshipFootballs.com, the coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed. Your Tulane Green Wave are Cotton Bowl champions. Here's the coolest present any Tulane football fan will open that day, guaranteed. These full-size NCAA licensed full-color souvenir footballs celebrate the historic season that included the largest one-year turnaround in history and a victory in the first Green Wave New Year's Six Bowl since 1940. The top panel of these limited edition footballs has all the Cotton Bowl game victory information. The second side has the score from every regular season game of the 12-2 season, along with their first ever AAC title. These footballs make an incredible gift for your favorite Tulane Green Wave fan, even if it's you. ChampionshipFootballs.com, the coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed. Welcome back to Saturdays in Canada with Black Hawk West here on the Sports Betting Channel, sponsored by championshipfootballs.com. The coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed. Now, as you know us, because I've said it before, we are very, very proud to be partners with Tulane this year at championshipfootballs.com. But more importantly, I followed your lead, and I'm going to have you explain your taxes.
So this is how you do it. You know, everybody at one point or another has said, "Oh, you know, if you could just go back to September and, you know, put $100 on that last place team to win the Super Bowl." To me, it's too much time to wait for your money back. So, couple different plays. Let's say you bet $10. That's your number, $10. And you'd like to put $10 on Calgary to cover the spread this weekend. But you like Tulane like you do here in a couple weeks, and you'd like to get some action there. Well, or you can work it with futures as well. You can work it with a Super Bowl bet. I've done that many times. We've talked about that on these shows. So instead of betting $10 on Calgary, bet $9.50 on Calgary, and then take the remaining 50 cents, do a Calgary parlay with Tulane. And so you don't even see the difference. Very small percentage went on that parlay, got you a little bit of action that's building up like a bank account on your future wager. And you can do that with whatever you like. You can put that on the Kansas City Chiefs to win the Super Bowl. And I do that with almost everything. I have futures everywhere. I have parlays down the road, because you had said it earlier. By the time you get to this Tulane game, you got a great hedge going. You got 30 plus wagers on Tulane. If your sportsbook offers it, you can take an early cash out on some of it, let the rest ride. You just have a lot of different options. It becomes like trading futures at that point. So that's really how you do it.
So here's what happened. I started my Bovado account where I text you. You can parlay anything. You can parlay anything. Not unless you can't, but almost. I really very seldom does the multiple button leave the screen. It's really amazing. So I didn't realize I'm in a higher tax bracket than you. I misunderstood. So I was doing like a quarter. So if I had $10 on these soccer games and these CFL games, and remember, in the 2 weeks we went 6-2. That's right. We were 4-0 or 3-1 and 2-2, whatever. And Paulo was 8-1, I think. But remember, we're doing minus 360, so we got a lot of these tickets riding. But all of a sudden, I woke up today because we had England, we had Spain, we had the last two games of the CFL this week. I forget who they were, and so I woke up with 20 tickets of $143. So that is what, $7 a ticket, something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah. But it's worth already $365 if I cash out. So I would get my $140 back plus $360. So it's about 2.5 to 1, give or take, right? Yeah. $140 times 2 would be $280, and I'm getting 3 something. So yeah, it's right about what it is to have a 2-teamer. But I've got 5-teamers and 4-teamers and 3-teamers. And the reason is because I'm looking just put tickets on it, so I'm not afraid to take. I had minus 1,000 on the money line with Winnipeg. I took it. You know what? Because of what I was looking at, and we talk about it on Moneyline Media all the time with Worldwide Sports Radio Network, with Errol and with Petey, that the pressure is totally different when you got the money line and you're giving points, but you're not covering, because they do not care. It doesn't matter if it's the XFL, USFL, CFL, NFL, NCAA. Doesn't matter the sport. Doesn't matter the league. They don't give a crap that you got money on them. They just don't care. All right, so we got Montreal, Ottawa. This is Saturday. This is 7 o'clock Eastern. These are the 4 o'clock afternoon games on the weekend that I told you, as I work throughout the day, is really the carrot that gets me through my life.
I tell you, Montreal is scary, and Ottawa hasn't figured out quarterback. I would argue, though, Cody is seeing limited action, so he's back in practice. That is a big deal. Although this is not the best version of Cody Fajardo that we've seen. Something's got to click with the coaching and the play calling. But But either way, that defense just hung 41 points on, or I'm sorry, that defense put him in a position to hang 41 points on Sask. I wouldn't bet against Montreal at this point, and right now you only got to lay 2.5 or 3 points to do it.
Ottawa, I'm telling you what, you're so right, because the Easy Sports data made this play so easy, and that's what I texted you about. In the second half, they've allowed 11 or less in all but one game and 9 or less in the rest of them. They only gave up 28 points to Toronto and 11 points to BC. Well, guess what? Toronto and BC are the two of the best teams in the league. So if you take out those games, all teams not called BC or Toronto, no one has scored 19 on this team. Nobody. And guess what? The last time I looked, Ottawa is not pronounced BC or Toronto.
No, and at this point, just looking at, it's a race for both third place positions or the crossover. But right now, I feel good in saying these are the four that are going to be in that playoff.
No, that hole on any given Saturday, that's a take on the famous statement, but we're in Canada, so it really is true. But there are a few teams here, there's not a chance in hell that they're going to beat Toronto or Winnipeg or BC or Montreal. Montreal is without a doubt, in my mind, they've got the defense, and defense wins championships, and you got them at 12-1.
And a banger at running back when Stanback's in that lineup, and he missed a lot of the season last year. So now you're looking at Antwi and Fletcher. They built depth last year with that. So defense, good banger at running back when it starts to get cold up north.
Yeah, that running back position that has gotten, wow, how much publicity has it gotten, right, on the NFL side in terms of contracts and holdouts and stuff. The CFL running backs, they earn every penny, don't they?
They do, and it's really important because in the NFL, gaining 2 and 3 yards, that matters. They're trying to kill the clock. In the CFL, if you're a running back that's gaining 2 yards, you're putting your team in the hole because they only got one more chance to go 8 more. And you look at Owlett from Toronto, and he's banging 6 and 7 yards and dragging the defense along with him and hurting them. You look at what Andrew Harris did, a couple of years ago. It's really, these CFL running backs are very important because if you are going to run the ball, that guy's got to be good. You can hide a mediocre running back in the NFL.
Oh, 2nd and 4 after a run and play, and that defense is on the heels, no doubt about it.
For sure.
Yeah. All right, when we get back, we're going to talk about the BC Sask game. You're hanging with us. Sponsored by Championship Footballs. It's called Saturdays in Canada. It's on Thursdays, Fridays, and SportsBettingWeeklyLive.com. It's on every single day. Sponsored by ChampionshipFootballs.com. So let's look at what we got.
Hey, it's Leaf.
And Lo, and we're here to tell you about our Wake and Bake Twitter contest. You don't even need to be a great handicapper to win.
This one is so easy, even I can win.
That's right, Leaf. Anybody can win. All you have to do is...
Can I do the disclaimer?
Leaf, the disclaimer is at the end.
Sorry.
All you have to do is take a screenshot of any game that you're watching where the clock has stopped at exactly 4:20.
4:20. I love that number.
We know you do, Leaf. Now please let me finish.
Sorry.
If the clock stops at 4:20 during any game you're watching, take a screenshot showing the clock and tag Chaz on Twitter with the picture.
Go to @secondhalfchaz, add the picture, and you're in.
You'll be entered in a drawing for a $100 gift certificate at ChampionshipFootballs.com.
In a world where most cannabis gummies are hashy, melty, or just plain gross, one brand will rise up to forever change what an edible can be. Vegan and gluten-free ingredients, 30-plus terpenes, and a melt-proof recipe star in Wana. Not all edibles are created equal. Now in dispensaries.
Welcome back to Saturdays in Canada here on the Sports Betting Channel with Black Hawk Wes. Wes, we missed the 420 spot last segment. I'm not going to worry about it.
420. I love that number.
But I took the time to make my notes, and I do that. I write notes because I don't want to interrupt you, but you say stuff that gets my brain thinking. But I got to check out. I know that marijuana is legal, I think, for medical purposes in Louisiana. So I just got to find the right doctor when I get to New Orleans. That's really what it comes out. The TJ's like that. You go to the TJ, you say, I want that. They said, well, you got to have a prescription. You say, well, I don't have a prescription. They say, go to the doctor. And next door
Yeah.
in the pharmacy is a doctor. God bless Mexico. All right, so this is the last game of the weekend, Sunday night, 7 o'clock Eastern, BC at Saskatchewan.
I tell you, when you watch a game, there's a couple stadiums in the CFL that they just look different on TV. And so I get excited whenever Sask is at home and we get to see it on TV, because Mosaic is a different looking stadium. The game feels different. You got the partying in the Pill Country end zone, and it just looks great. I mean, that's on my bucket list of stadiums to go to, but it's louder when we're watching it. But do we even have a decision here after what we just saw BC do? I mean, BC has shut teams out. I mean, they can put up points. Their top receiver, Rhymes, is in and out of the lineup. All that's done is build depth. Last week, you texted me that Lucky Whitehead made it into the end zone. I had walked away for a second, but now Lucky is a part of the game, and he is speed, and they replaced a running back really quickly. But so they can do a lot of different things on offense, but their defense really gets you. I think what we saw a couple weeks ago against Winnipeg, that's a one-off. We're going to be challenged to find games where BC is going to lose. I think when they play the Torontos and they play Montreal, it'll look a little different. But I don't even know if those games, it might be some chess, because they know they're going to see each other in the playoffs. So BC's winning this game. It is going to be by double digits. The only question is, by how many? Will there be a 2 in front of it or a 3?
Oh, there's no doubt that when you look at BC, they're not gonna worry about anybody except those. But they probably don't even worry about Montreal. I'll be honest with you. But they're definitely worried about Toronto, and they're worried about Winnipeg. But this is the same thing. So I saw this. First thing I did was I made the bet. Then I made the taxes bet, and then I texted you to say, this is the same thing that I saw in the other game. If you're not Winnipeg or Toronto and you play BC, you ain't scoring 19 points. It's that simple. And you're not beating BC. 37, 27, 25, 34, 30. They're scoring their points on you.
And they are a different team. The whole team. I mean, Vernon Adams Jr. was not in the game against Winnipeg, and the defense was unrecognizable. And the last time I checked, I don't know what goes on in your world, but I have never seen a quarterback play linebacker or make tackles or sacks. But he was back in the game this past week, and it was a completely different defense. That defense is what won the game. They put it away, and it's amazing how a quarterback being on the sidelines, just cheering everybody on and bringing them together, it just changes everything.
It really is. 9. They gave up 0. They gave up 9. They gave up 6. They gave up 0. They gave up 15 in the opener. Think about those numbers in football. Those are good numbers in soccer in some platforms,
Yep.
All right, man. Before we go, again, 10 weeks, a stellar record. I didn't do the math, to be honest with you. I've been chasing my tail.
28 and 11.
Yeah, but what's that number? 60-something? 69? 70?
No. We're 70, just shy of 72%.
So we're 70. We're 7 out of 10. We're cashing so many tickets. It's just really nice. But if you watch the show, you make a lot of money an hour. So watch the show. Always be cashing.
Always be cashing.